So Mom, what do you love doing besides spending time with us as a family? Imagine a child asking you that question, and that question leading you to your purpose. At the time that this was happening, it didn't look that way at all. So I want to share that with you. Hello guys, my name is Damaris. I am a certified life coach specializing in self-mastery, helping women get out of their way and getting unstuck when they are feeling the most stuck. We were busy in the kitchen. I think I was serving supper and she was helping me with that, and she just out of the blue asked me a question. So Mom, tell me, what is it that you love doing? And I was about to start answering and she stopped me and said, nope, except for spending time with us, cooking for us, doing things for us as your family. And at that moment, I thought I had the answer. But turns out that when she put that as part of her question, that got me thinking. I couldn't really answer it in that moment. And I think she went off to play. But that question stuck with me. I asked myself that question so many times after that, and when I realized that I didn't have a clear, ready answer, this then started my transformation journey. I hear a lot of times people talking about their purpose. They're trying to figure out what their purpose is, where they're going, and their passions, to even get in touch with the things that they have lost. They don't even know what it is that brings them joy anymore. And in the work that I do in my coaching, this is something that I have decided to really hone in on, because I know that once a person gets to see that their purpose is their purpose first of all, and it doesn't have to look anything like what other people expect it to look like, but it lit a fire in me. I started having to really look at the things that I was doing, how my day was now structured, how I rejuvenated, how I rested, how I found joy, how I found things that made my life meaningful. My life was structured in almost an autopilot mode. I went to work, I had a career as a laboratory manager, and I would come back and do the things that needed to be done at home. And somewhere along the line, I started losing touch with the things that brought me joy. I started putting my worth on what I was doing for my family. So I am very grateful that my daughter put that caveat in the question to say that whatever your answer is, it should not be revolving around the family. When she put that caveat there, that's when I realized that everything that I was doing was somehow linked to an external person. So her asking it this way, I don't even know why she asked it this way, because years later when I asked her why she asked that question, she can't even remember asking that question, but that question stuck with me. I would later find myself coming back to this question and actually giving a step-by-step guide to my clients about how I actually came to do the work that I do, and discovering my passion and purpose to do this work. So many pages of journaling happened at this point. When my child asked me this question and I couldn't answer, I started looking at what it is that used to be things that were bringing me joy. Because when you are looking for your passion, they are just your passions. You just do them. Things happen automatically. But when you get the opportunity to be asking yourself this question, which is why I love journaling, when you get this as a prompt, it allows you to actually pick apart your thinking and the way in which you do things. So this question, as I was working on it, unconsciously I had started working on this transformation. I started looking at the things that brought me joy. Historically, if you asked me what is it that I loved doing, the first thing would come to mind was reading. Funny enough though, when my child asked me that question, that is not the first thing that came to mind. And maybe in knowing that I was going to answer with spending time with my family, cooking for my family, I don't really know what she thought I was going to say. Now I also don't know what I was going to say. But when she stopped me from making my answer about my family, I had to now go back and determine what it was that used to be my, I said go-to answer, but that was just naturally what I loved doing. You would always find me with a book. I now needed to look at that, and because it was such a scary question at the time, I went where it was easiest. If you followed me for a while, you know that I'm all about quick wins. So my quick win was reading. So I looked at my reading and then I realized that, oh my gosh, I have not been reading for quite some time. And during this time, I decided that I'm going to now increase my reading. That becomes a challenge by itself. I have not been reading for quite some time. My life is on autopilot. Reading does not form part of the things that need to happen on autopilot. So I needed to come up with ways of increasing my reading. Now, I'm a strange reader, so I had to find ways of getting back into reading, but not shocking my system with maybe an author that I don't know, or a book that I cannot read, or an author I cannot stomach for long. So I looked at that and crafted a method for myself to get back into reading. I started doing a lot of introspection almost on the daily, and this happened through my journaling practice. I then looked to what I was consuming. I was consuming a lot of coaching, but a lot of it was specifically on money coaching, because that's the only coaching that I knew at the time. So I had a lot of money coaches that I was following on my socials, and more I got exposed to other coaches. I signed up for coaching, I signed up for courses on coaching and personal development. My self-help book reading went up quite a notch during that time. So in this period, I found myself in places where I was learning quite a lot about myself, what I loved, what I enjoyed, what I didn't like, and so forth. And it was in these coaching spaces where I found myself doing things that came naturally to me. I love it when in a group coaching setting we would have homework being given, and the coaches that I had used to give homework, and we would do that homework and I would be asking questions. And I recall in one of the coaching programs that I belonged to, I used to ask so many questions, and in my questions people started talking about my methods on how I approached any section in the program. And because it came naturally to me, I thought, I don't understand, why are they asking these questions? But the more it happened, I then realized that, but this is what I usually do. I then later learned that when things happen and come so easily to you, it's very hard for you to see them as your purpose or your passion, because we believe that if it is something that is about your purpose, it needs to be earth-shattering. It needs to wow everybody, and if it doesn't do that, then it's not worth even exploring. So it took me a while to get to this space, and even when I started doing this work, it wasn't because I felt that this was my purpose. It's something that I wanted to do, and I knew that I could do it. I had already been doing it for other people, friends and close people to me. So it felt almost natural. So I wouldn't have called it a purpose. So years later, when a friend of mine said to me, "You are so lucky that you have found your purpose," looking back in my life as to how I got to that space, I then remembered the question that my daughter had asked me that put me on this path, and all the work that I had done up to that point. So when my friend came to me and asked me to help her with figuring out what her passion and her purpose was, and asking me if I could do that for her when I had already started the coaching work, I realized that maybe I was onto something. Maybe that question that my child asked me as young as they were, that they can't even recall, that set me on this path, is the way to actually do this for other people. It's a very, very simple step, but if you do not know, or you are now out of touch with those things, this is what I then did. Looking at my reading, looking at my surroundings, and determining what it is that I loved doing, and working with the challenges that came to accepting that as what I loved doing. Working with other people in these coaching programs reminded me of the way in which I prefer to work. With my background as a chemist and working in the laboratory, root cause analysis became my jam, became something that I love doing. And this is the approach that I use in my programs now with my clients. So if you find yourself struggling with not knowing what your purpose is, really just follow my steps and just think about the things that you used to be defaulting to, those things that came naturally to you. What are those things? For me, in this case, one of them was reading. I started reading in a strategic way that allowed me to get back into reading, and over the years, I started reading more and more books that I enjoyed and learned so much from. So look back at those moments where you excel. That question, as simple and innocent as it was at the time, it really got me to this point. So I am so grateful for that. If this resonates with you and you'd really like to take a deep dive into this work, I have created a 12-week program where we look into your specific issue, identify your hidden talents, create a personalized path to your purpose, and then work on all those things that block you to get you to that purpose. My coaching takes those insights and crafts them into this personalized and customized roadmap just for you. If you're curious about your full potential, book a call with me and we can see how we can personalize your 12 weeks. These same principles that I've shared with you, I will expand it for you and hold you accountable through the 12 weeks so that you can implement the things that you have set for yourself and get to the other side to get unstuck. Finding your purpose and your passions reignited. Thank you so much for watching till the end. I really appreciate that you did. You didn't have to, but if you've reached the end, thank you so much. I will see you in the next video.